On this episode featuring the Maverick 1000.
You think that water's your friend because it keeps you alive, but nah, it's going to try to kill you any chance it can get.
That's got to be one of the easiest and most convenient exhausts to remove ever. I feel like it's my duty as an American to start this thing up straight pipe. I want to flip this spring. Scratching up the spring.
This is surprisingly decent quality.
Dude, this came out sick. You ever have one of those days where it just seems like no matter what you do, it just goes terribly wrong? Well, it's definitely one of those days, but we got some exciting news because we got some packages in for the Can-Am. So we're going to be working on that today, and I actually got that chintzy Chinese exhaust that came in the mail today, and I'm honestly really excited about it. One, because I like customizing things and fabricating things. I'm really excited to see what this V-twin sounds like with that exhaust on it. So before we get to the exhaust, I just want to go over this thing real quick. I washed it up pretty good, and it came out pretty good. I mean, you tell me. It definitely looks better than it did. It was pretty muddy before. Here's that old stock exhaust that we're going to be getting rid of today. You can see how clean it came under here. Even in the footwell areas and all, it came out pretty nice. It's not like brand new, but it definitely came out nice. I'll tell you what though, this thing is not as easy as cleaning a quad. There was a lot of nooks and crannies and stuff.
Alright guys, thanks for joining the battle halfway through here. As you can see, we're just spraying down all this dirt and grit and grime, getting it all wet so it's all loose and nice and easy to just blast away once we soap it down. Yeah, we're even getting underneath, you know, I'm going to get in all the nooks and crannies and stuff because I'm a detail-oriented person. That's the kind of guy I am. And don't worry guys, even though this is a 3000 PSI pressure washer, I've got it turned down and we're using the softest pressure head that we can possibly use. So fear not, we're not going to damage any of these parts, and I was careful not to shoot the pressure into any areas that we wouldn't want to. Yeah, look at that, we're even going to clean in the footwells where your stinky little feet go. No area is going to be overlooked. Right here, as I was cleaning out all these areas with the little nooks and crannies, you can see the water constantly trying to jump back and attack at me. You think that water's your friend because it keeps you alive, but nah, it's going to try to kill you any chance it can get. Right here, the water and soap actually work together and actually jump at my face, almost killing me. You gotta be careful. If that soap gets in your mouth, you're gonna be tasting it for days and it's gonna be terrible. Now, you can see shit's getting pretty intense. I'm getting a little bit of spray back here. And the problem will just wipe that shit away. So you can see we've got this thing soaped up and we're about to blast it away. The soap thinks it's better than the dirt, but it's not. It's all the same. And to think that you're better than someone else actually makes you worse. So we're gonna blast it all away just like it's skull. Yeah, we're just gonna blast this dirt into the depths of hell with Satan himself and all the other scum of the earth where it belongs. Stupid f***ing dirt. The pleasures I get out of the simple, mundane activities that life has to offer. If you're in the house with this coronavirus and you're feeling like shit, just go outside and kill some dirt. You'll feel like a new man, I guarantee it.
The radiator came out really nicely. I know some of you guys were saying that it looked pretty beat, but you can see it cleaned up really nice. Used a little bit of aluminum brightener on there. Cleaned all of the fins and stuff out. There was a lot of mud and stuff caked in there. But she cleaned up pretty nice. The seats are looking pretty good. And I spent a good amount of time on these body panels and stuff. The center console areas, I refinished. I scuffed them with a red Scotch-Brite, washed them, and then I sprayed them with the bed liner. You can see the center console here turned out really nice. This thing looked terrible. It was faded. It had those junky graphics and stuff on there. These center cup holder things are rubber, and I removed them before I painted them. And the grill was all faded, and it had those kind of chintzy looking reflectors on the side. I got rid of those. Same thing with this. I cleaned it and scuffed it with a red Scotch-Brite, just painted it with flat black, and it came out really nice. Some other things I want to take care of. I want to flip this spring. If you guys watched in the last video, this spring is actually upside down. If you look at this one, you can see the tight coils are up top, and if you come over here, the tight coils are at the bottom. They are supposed to be at the top, so at some point in time the shock was rebuilt or something, and the guy put the shock on upside down. So we're going to fix that today because it's bothering me. So the first order of business is listening to what this stock exhaust sounds like so we can do a comparison. But before we do that, I want to take off this snorkel kit. We did get this piece right here, the OEM piece, for 15 bucks. That came in the mail today, so we can put that on. And the reason I want to do that first is because I was reading online about guys that run snorkels and how the system's restrictive and it can cause the idle to surge. And I did notice it kind of idles a little bit up and down. So we'll put that tube on there, and hopefully that will rectify the idling issue, and we can get a good idea what this thing sounds like. All right, guys, let's get this junk off of here finally and put it in the trash where it belongs. I feel a lot better now that that is gone. I really do. I just think this looks so much better. You can see there were some kind of other snorkel or airbox mods done to this at one time. It looks like a decent repair on there. Hopefully that's airtight. And over on this side, you can see it looks much cleaner. I believe there is a duct that goes up and over stock. If it's cheap, which I think it is, I think a lot of people take them off from OEM. I might buy that. Otherwise, I'll probably just leave that where it is. This is the secondary breather for the CVT. It connects, I believe it connects, I don't know if you can see behind there, and then it runs here, up, and then comes out right there. That's in a pretty good spot. I can't really imagine any water or anything getting up that high, not for what I'm doing anyway. Okay, so let's fire this thing up and see what it sounds like stock. You guys notice the smoke. It's the exhaust wrap is still damp from washing this thing. It's so weird. It's almost like the decibels don't increase when you gun it. The video, I listened to the video just now because it sounds weird in person, and I just listened to the video. It sounds just like that. It's very not aggressive. At idle, it sounds kind of cool, but it's like nothing when you get on the throttle. Unfortunately, I can't gun this thing down the grass or anything. If you guys didn't watch the last video, the CVT is not in there. I have the case on there because I washed it, but there's no clutch in this thing, so unfortunately we can't see what it sounds like under load. All right, let me show you what this Chinese $50 exhaust looks like. Oh yeah, so here's how it comes, man. You can see it's the Leo Vince pipe. Oh yeah. You know it's legit, bruh. Definitely. What do we have? What is this, man? This is like camping equipment. Or a piston. Oh, would you look at that? You know, surprisingly, this is surprisingly decent quality, it feels like. So you can see it's got appears to be nice TIG welds on there. These band things have got to go. Not terrible. This is mounted crooked. You can see the bolt for this quiet core thing is crooked. If we pull out this little plug, you can see it's not lined up. Now, I'm not gonna lie, guys, I already opened up the other one and I knew what we were getting into with this. And on the other one, I got rid of these bands, I pulled out the quiet core, and I straightened this thing out so that it's nice and even, because if you look at the contour on that slanted exhaust, it doesn't quite line up, just slightly off. So I balanced that out on the other one, which is to be expected with cheap parts. But it's actually fairly, I don't want to say heavy, but it feels a lot, it's heavier than I thought it was going to be. I thought this was going to be some really, really light piece of junk, but it feels like decent. It feels like a regular like FMF or something. It doesn't feel like total junk. So let me show you the pipe that I already did. So this one's done. I'll show you side by side. I think it looks a lot better without these chrome bands. I think that looks really chintzy. I don't know if you guys can, well, the quiet core is obviously removed. This should have some pretty decent flow, and I lined up the hole for that quiet core with the actual plug. So this one looks a lot better. It's not bad. I mean, it honestly, like I said, it feels pretty solid. It actually is made of some sort of carbon fiber, because when I re-drilled the rivets, it was fiber. So it's definitely some sort of carbon fiber. I don't know how great the quality is, but I think this is going to look pretty decent. It should slide right on. And what we'll do is grind these little hooks off, because they come with exhaust springs. We're not going to be using exhaust springs. And we'll put slots in this, just like the OEM one. And we'll put the band clamp on there, and these should clamp in place pretty nicely. It does come with a clamp as well. You can see how the clamp comes. It's just a regular, I guess, stainless band. So that's the band right there. And then of course you get this piece of rubber that goes on it so the pipe doesn't get scratched up. And otherwise you've got this reducer. So if you're running a 1.5 inch pipe, you can put this reducer in the back and it brings it down to 1.5 inches, and it's got exhaust springs in there too. And it also has little hooks. I'll show you guys, even though we're not going to be using this stuff. It has the little hooks like these that you can weld on your exhaust system if you want to use exhaust springs. You can see them right here. And I guess if you want to put this Trick Leo Vince sticker on your pipe, you can do that too. So what we're going to do is drill the rivets on this thing, and we'll basically give it the same treatment that we did with this muffler. We'll make them look exactly the same. These things should look pretty trick on the Maverick. All right, so the first order of business is going to be drilling out these 3/16 inch rivets. We're going to take it easy and leave. I have this on an old shirt here because I don't know, I'm kind of questioning the surface of this thing. So just in case, we'll be really careful. We don't want to scratch it up or anything. Got our brand new expensive exhaust. Last thing we want to do is make it look like crap. So we'll go ahead and drill out these rivets. You can see this is really chintzy, flimsy. Really makes it look like Mickey Mouse. Now we can pull this little cover off. And it actually looks kind of decent like that. Looks a lot like an HMF. Let me pull this junk quiet core out. I think it looks better like this or like this. You could really run it either way. I think this is a more modern look. This is a more like early 2000s 4-stroke quad look. All right, now let's make this thing line up appropriately. So right there is where it was sitting before. You can see it does not line up at all. So what we need to do is move it like so that lines up. And it's not so much that I want that hole to line up because we're not putting the quiet core back in there. But like I said, I want that slanted edge to line up. They're not quite the same to begin with, but I don't want it, you know, twisted like that or anything. I want it to look nice. So we're gonna line it up. Take my silver Sharpie. Be really careful when you do this and step your bits up slowly, because this stuff actually is carbon, some sort of carbon fiber, and it will flake. Now we'll put this cover back on, make sure it lines up right, and throw in some new rivets. Definitely looks way better without that junk band on there. All right, let me get this back crap band off. All right, well, these definitely actually look pretty decent. I'm pretty excited to see what these look like on the Maverick. The only other thing I want to do, like I said, is We'll take a Dremel with a little cutoff wheel, and we'll cut the hooks off and put some slots in here. Before I do that, I want to pull the OEM exhaust off of the Maverick and see what that looks like. And also, I'm thinking about mounting either like this, with them angled out like that, or obviously the traditional way, like that. I can always switch it. Maybe we'll run both and see what they look like. Wow, that's got to be one of the easiest and most convenient exhausts to remove ever. And there are slots in the back where these mount up. So we'll cut some slots in these aftermarket ones. But you can see the difference. The OEM ones are huge, not nearly as much flow, quite a bit of weight savings too. They're pretty heavy. They're probably like 15 pounds maybe, whereas these are like 5, if that. So total, we're probably losing, I'd say, a good 20 pounds. I feel like it's my duty as an American to start this thing up straight pipe. It's not as loud as I thought it would be. That cat, I'm sure, quiets it down quite a bit. Sounds pretty mean. All right, back to the drawing board with these junk mufflers. Cut off these little tabs with a cutoff wheel, put some slots, and we'll throw them on. All right, guys, check it out. So these mufflers came out pretty nice, and they fit on here really nicely too. What I'm thinking about doing though is working with the mounting here. I don't want the bottom of this muffler rubbing here against the bracket. You might be saying like, well, why don't I just cut the bracket off and hang it from up here? I could do that, but this joint up here on the muffler, it's like a flex joint over here. It's made to move a little bit. And what's going to wind up happening if we hang it up there is probably these things will pull down like that or something. So what I'd like to do is have some support down here, basically right here at the bottom of the muffler, and that way it won't be able to come down and rub against the can. So I think what I'm going to do, I've got this steel rod. If I put the rod in there and we mock up this muffler, what I can do is weld a block of steel on the end of this rod and then drill a hole in it, and I should be able to mount this band right to the piece of steel, right like that. And that way, that should be pretty solid. These mufflers are a lot lighter than the stock ones. If it's held right there, that might be all it needs, but I can get another band and then hang it up here too. All right, guys, change of plans. So I bounced the idea off my pop, and we came up with a modified plan. So I was just going to hang that bar stock right in here. I'm going to take this piece of 3/8 by 18 now, and we'll thread it in here. We can put a nut and washer on both sides, and it'll still have the cushion of the rubber, but I think will be a little bit more rigid. And then I'm still going to go through with taking this bar and welding it on here. I'm going to chop this in half, so we'll have one for each side, and then this will be able to bolt right up in there. And I think with all of this being so tight right here, like that, and being bolted to the exhaust, I think this is going to be really solid. I don't even think we're going to need a hanger from the top. You got to remember, this exhaust is very light, so we don't have like a lot back here hanging that's going to be pulling or anything. I really just want this band to be as close to the back as possible because I don't want stress
on these rivets back here. If we have the band up here and we're banded back here, we might rip out these rivets. I just don't want that to happen. That's one of the things you got to look out with, because this is a knockoff muffler. I'm not expecting these things to be super strong. Although it feels very solid, it's going to be a lot of vibrations. We're going to be hitting bumps and stuff. So I'd rather just build it as solid as we possibly can. Keep the clamp in the back like so, and mount it up in the back. We should be good. So I'm going to get to measuring and welding this up, and we'll see how it fits. Okay, while that's drying, I want to go ahead and flip this spring. And flipping this spring ended up being a huge pain in the ass because I didn't have the correct size spanner wrench. So my pop actually came up with this idea to use some old school straps to compress the spring, and between some yelling and screaming at each other and a couple curse words, scratching up the spring, we got the job done.
All right, well that did not go quite as smoothly as I thought it would, but we got the job done. Had to get a little bit redneck there. And those exhaust mounts should be done. So let's check those things out and mount this exhaust up.
All right, so here they are. Came out pretty decent. Kind of unnecessary to put as much work into them as I did, because, I mean, who's really going to see these things? But you know me. So I'm going to run these nuts up to the end. There's a little bit of blue Loctite on here. Then we'll throw a washer on here, put this through the rubber, washer on the other side, and a nut. And when we tighten that up, this should be a pretty nice mounting area for our exhaust.
Well, there they are. They came out pretty solid. They feel really tight, but they'll still have the buffering of that rubber grommet in there. So I'm going to bolt on these mufflers and we'll see what it sounds like. Dude, this came out sick. After tightening up all of the exhaust bands and clamps, these are rock solid. I'm actually shaking the machine. Both of them. There's no need for a hanger at the top. This is really, really nice. The only thing that I would do differently is use my own hardware. I did use the stuff that came with the kit, and not have bolts quite as long and use nylocks on here just to prevent vibration. I did put blue Loctite on there, and I think we'll be okay. But I'll tell you what, I think that looks pretty damn good. They're nice and even. They both stick out the same amount. I think that's killer for $100. Give you a good look at those mounts. All really tight. Exhaust vapors. Alright, it has finally warmed up, and I think that was just exhaust vapors in there. It seems like it's burnt off. Sounds pretty damn good. Let's do a warm start. I think that sounds pretty good, man. I'm pretty happy with this. So I did notice there was a little bit of exhaust vapor coming out. I think it's vapor anyway. Let's hope so. I was just pressure washing this thing, so it's very possible that we got a little bit of water in the exhaust. We have all of that exhaust wrap all over and stuff, so it's possible it's just exhaust vapor. I'm gonna go with that. It didn't smell sweet like antifreeze, and it didn't smell like burning oil, and then it went away after it idled for a little bit, so I think we're okay there. But what I do want to do, and I didn't show you guys this, I pulled the air cleaner off. Let me show you. The air cleaner is right here, and it's pretty thrashed. So I definitely think that that needs to be replaced. It was probably being a little bit restrictive, so we might get a little bit of a better idle and pedal response once we have that replaced. I did get an Uni high flow. That's going to be a nice little upgrade. Just give you guys a look at the airbox here. You can see this thing was modded before where some holes were plugged. But whatever, everything should be fine. So we'll do that, and I think that is our mass airflow right there. I think that's the mass airflow sensor. I want to pull that off, and we'll clean that up because that could be making us have a little bit of an idle surge and giving us improper air-fuel ratios. Speaking of air-fuel ratios, I did go ahead and pick up a Doback fuel optimizer for this bad boy. It's essentially like getting a jet kit for a carbureted quad or dirt bike, and it's going to help regulate the air-fuel ratios to optimize it for this exhaust, give us the best performance that it possibly can, and it's probably going to be better for the motor too, help it run a little bit cooler and stuff like that. So this thing's coming along pretty nicely, man. I'm pretty happy with the way it's coming out. We have a couple more things to do. Like I said, I want to paint the cage, just go over it with flat black. I want to take care of these two snorkels here, some other odds and ends. It's coming together really nicely though, and it's coming together quickly too. I did get the primary clutch in the mail today, so that's probably going to be in the next video on the Can-Am, the next video. Anyway, I think the next video is probably going to be on the YZ125. Regardless, all the stuff is coming together. We're going to be riding this thing, I think, sooner than what we thought. So you tell me, guys, was it worth $100 to put on this Chinese muffler? Did it come out good? Does it sound good? I'm pretty happy with it. Or do you think I'm an idiot and I should have got the big gun exhaust or Yoshimura or something like that? Personally, I couldn't be happier with this setup. You could figure about $115 in the cost of materials. The mufflers themselves were $100. I will have them linked in the description below, and that is $100 for the pair. They are $50 a piece, and then the bracket, you can figure the materials is about $15 if you wanted to make that. Of course, you'd have to be able to weld and everything like that, but if you're a guy that likes to fabricate stuff, you could easily do this yourself. So I think we're gonna get really good sound with this system. Once we get that clutch in there, I'm gonna do some takeoff videos from the back and we'll get to really hear what this thing sounds like, because I think under load is where it's really gonna sound badass. When we're going up hills and the motor's really working hard, that's when a V-twin really sounds good. So I'm super excited for that. I did weigh the factory exhaust. Those cans weigh about 8.2 pounds each. So it's a little over 16 pounds, we'll say 16 and a half. And these mufflers were just under 2 pounds a pop. So that's about 4 pounds. So we had over 12 pounds of weight savings. We should have more horsepower, especially when we get that fuel optimizer on there. I think it looks way better. It's a win-win, man. For $100, might be able to get 20 to 50 bucks for those takeoff mufflers. I'm not really sure what they go for or if I can even sell them, but in my book, this is a win. If you guys like this video and you like these mufflers, make sure to smash that thumbs up button. If you're new to the channel, definitely stick around, hit that subscribe button, and make sure to hit that notification bell to get videos on Project Maverick. We are also working on a YZ125 right now, and we're also working on a 250R. It's got a lot of good stuff coming. It's really exciting. It's pretty cool. Right now we have a side-by-side dirt bike and a quad in the shop. Really excited for this stuff, guys. I hope you guys are staying safe, staying clean, and staying not sick. Got to get rid of this coronavirus, man. Let's do it. We'll see you in the next video, guys. Peace out. And I wanted to make a special shout out to my buddy Shell, who made this sign. I'm in total disbelief, honestly, that somebody would actually take the time to do this. I didn't even ask him to do this for me. It's all made out of steel, powder coated, and it's assembled with stainless steel fasteners. I can imagine a sign like this would probably be between $200 and $400, and it's super professional. He completely, perfectly nailed my logo. I'm super stoked to hang this behind me for Bike of the Week and in other areas and just show this thing off. I'm super, super proud. If you guys follow me on Instagram, you probably saw the pictures that I posted up. So I want to give you a huge shout out, Shell. Thank you so much for making this awesome, awesome sign for me. I can't wait to hang it up. Thinking about possibly putting some neon color into it. And yeah, man, if you guys are interested in getting a sign, he does make professional signs like this, no matter what your business is. You can hit him up at his Instagram, which I'll post right here. Definitely shoot him a DM if it's something that you'd be interested in.